A short while ago we looked at Burnet saxifrage, which is the latest in the succession through the floral year of species where the inflorescence is an umbel, a flat plate of small white flowers which produce copious amounts of nectar that's readily accessible to a wide variety of insects. And now here we have upright hedge parsley, which at first sight you might mistake for Burnet saxifrage, but here the umbels are much smaller, as you can see, and it's a plant that grows more in gardens, hedges, bare ground. It can be up to 1 metre in height. It's an annual, sometimes a biennial. And it has a rather distinctive leaf and stem architecture. Now, in these wildflower outings, we've tended to concentrate almost exclusively on the structure of the flowers. But this is a chance for us to say something about the stem and leaf architecture of plants. The primary function of the leaf is to manufacture the plant's energy supply of sugar through the process of photosynthesis. The shape of the leaf is designed primarily to maximize the surface area presented to the sun, and there is endless variation in how plants explore ways to minimize the competition between leaves due to shading, not just by other plants, but by other leaves on the same plant due to the inevitable overlap. Some families of flowering plants show great variation in the form of their leaves, but other families are much more conservative, and this is particularly the case with the umbellifer or carrot family. Most umbellifers have the typically fern-like foliage that we see more familiarly in cow parsley. This is cow parsley. But in other species you can see the same basic structure where you have a broadly triangular leaf, but divided in different ways, some more coarsely, some more finely, in different species. So, for example, there's our cow parsley again. This is Burnet saxifrage, which we looked at recently. And you see the leaflet here, it's still pinnate, it's still the same basic structure, but the leaf is much more finely divided into leaflets. And this is Angelica, where the leaf is much less finely divided into little segments. And the degree of division correlates to a broad extent with the availability of water. An absolutely vital element in the life of any plant is water. And this it can only obtain from the small anchored space in which it's growing. So it's critically important that when it rains, the plant can harness or harvest as much water as it possibly can. And the way in which hedge parsley does this is really impressive. Rainwater is intercepted by the leaf surface and then channeled by a branching system of canals until it reaches the main stem, which is fluted or ridged to direct its passage directly to the root system. The lower part of the main leaf stalk is almost roofed over where it approaches the fluted stem, the more efficiently to effect transfer of water gathered on the open leaf to the stem and onto the root. The faintly pinkish flowers are typical of the family, bisexual in the centre with male flowers on the margins. They are produced in much smaller umbels than more familiar umbellifers. A quite surprising feature is the almost complete absence of insect visitors, only 9 species in one careful study, in spite of which the plant always produces a full complement of burr-like fruits, which are covered with a coat of hitchhiking prickles that readily adhere to any passing mammal that comes in contact with them. It seems to be a general rule among the umbellifers that the more conspicuous the inflorescence, the larger the number of insect visitors is likely to be. This places plants like hogweed in the top rank, with nearly 120 species recorded as visitors, whereas hedge parsley is at the bottom, with fewer than 10. When you see it growing here like this, it's hard to believe that upright hedge parsley would ever get in the way to any great extent. But where it's been introduced in other parts of the world, it sometimes can be seriously and expensively invasive. For example, it's a really expensive and difficult plant to control in parts of North America, like Wisconsin, to which it was only introduced in 1917, so in less than a century. It's proved to be a seriously invasive weed. On the other hand, it found a role in traditional Chinese and Korean medicine. And in fact, more recently, the fruits, the burr-like fruits we looked at, has been found to contain a chemical called taurolin, which is used in the treatment of several different kinds of cancer.